This is Surf. Before I go on, all praise and glory goes to the Most High, to the One, to the uncreated Creator. Now, I wanted to bring up some drops again about cam technology, film negatives, photographies, and so on, because we speak of spirit capturing, and cloaking and hiding, and 5G is as well a device to help them cloak more, since we are getting closer to the end times. So, or better, we are in the end times, and we are finally seeing, what's going on. Now, this will be a very useful drop for you that are seeking. Put the things together and apply this to a brighter spectrum, and you will understand.
Let's get started. Okay, so I know most of you may know about this film from the 80s called They Live. It's pretty famous within conspiracy circles, but I've watched this a couple times throughout my life, and every time I see it with new eyes. The movie's honestly amazing. It starts out with your traditional 80s action movie, and you're basically following this guy who, through a seemingly random sequence of events, finds these glasses that have special properties. These glasses allowed him to see the world for what it really is. He could see past the realm of illusion and see the other truths and things. He could see messages seem to contribute to the sleepwalking state that modern humanity has been caught up in. These messages, such as obey and reproduce, subconsciously weigh people down to material reality. The weirdest part about the glasses, though, is that they allow him to see that many human beings look quite different when he wore them. They look like demons or some sort of reptilian-like entity, imitating or impersonating a human being. At first, the reptilian-like humans tell him to stop staring and, they think nothing of it. But then they start realizing that he can actually...
He as well, if you pay attention, this actor, he has a shape-shifting eye. You can go to Sword of Dawid to see a few videos. I will do in the future some more. So this actor is actually a shapeshifter. You have an angle, a square. Actually, the other right eye is wrong as well. So it's cool.
So the cops begin to try and arrest him. The movie is a ride of an experience, and I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. There's a sense...
You see the triangle in his right eye, shapeshifter.
The sincerity to the film, as if it's exposing some sort of hidden truth. On top of that, the directing is just very unique, and it's just a one-of-a-kind film. The director who wrote it says that it's a documentary, which is really interesting when you tie it together with the work of Dr. Kilner. Supposedly, these glasses are based on a true story. In the 1920s, a scientist named Walter Kilner experimented with a dark blue chemical dye called dicyanin, which he poured into a glass screen, and when he gazed through the screen, he found that he was able to see the aura of a person standing in front of him. He was able to see the person's aura because the specific color of the dye blocked out a large portion of the white light spectrum. This left only a small portion, which helped concentrate his perception of the aura. Now this gets interesting because supposedly in the 1940s, they decided to make this dye illegal. Dicyanin is not a drug, it's not toxic, and it's made from coal tar. However, it's as if it's been erased from our knowledge because there's little information on the subject. The reason they wanted to hide it is because it allowed anyone to see into the astral. You didn't have to be sensitive or have to train in meditation. This knowledge needed to be suppressed in order to train and program future generations. Is there some sort of cover-up? Listen to this story about vets who were seeing demons with old military tech.
To launch some, yeah. So that means that they've had about 30 years to tweak this stuff wherever.
And I know that this stuff exists because my father's role in the military brought him very close to it many times. So my father did 3 tours in the Vietnam War, and in his second tour, he was advanced enough in rank, and he was there, I think, 11 or 12 months. And when he was in country at that point, he's always been a field officer, and came up in the military through the Korean War in a battlefield commission. And so, the military likes guys like him, and they let him be in charge of a couple of different projects. One of the projects that he was in charge of at the time was this technology that they introduced into Vietnam that almost brought the war to a standstill. Wow. And this technology was a night vision goggle. but it's not night vision as we have it now, okay? Because the night vision goggle was done in the red spectrum. And so when my father came back from Vietnam...
You mean infrared or?
No, I'll explain.
Ordinary red.
No, ordinary red, okay. So instead of seeing... When you look at a night vision goggles now, you see green. Everything is translated into green for you. And human eye sees green, more colors, shades of green than any other color. It's part of our evolution, our need to find food.
So that's clever then.
Correct. But see, here's the thing. It started off as red. And so the night vision goggles were introduced to helicopter pilots and gunnery people in Vietnam. And I won't hesitate as to the... I won't guess as to which year it was that they introduced them. But my father was part of this initial experiment with the troops that he commanded. And it was a disaster because the image was presented in red pixels, not green. And because of the technology being used at that time, it created very interesting effects that they could not deal with. So you had some officers that were part of this cadre, or this cohort of other officers that were all testing these new technologies for the military that had their troops always use these goggles. And those units became self-destructive. They went down in a horrid situation. My father was extremely practical, didn't want to see himself get destroyed in any way, wanted to return and get out. So as soon as he saw what was going on with these goggles, he had his people take them off. And he actually got praise from the military for the way that he dealt with all of this. But the effect was this. A gunner in a helicopter would have no problem using these goggles. And only everything is showing up as a sort of a faint reddish image. And it was true night vision the way we have it now. And even a greater depth, because you could also flip it and get an extra layer that was sort of yellowish that would be heat signatures as well. And they don't have those combined anymore in these goggles. Anyway, the goggles that were presented to the gunners, and my father tells the story of the very first time they're out with them, and they're flying along and he's in the front of the helicopter with the pilot, and all of a sudden, in a very peaceful area, not anything going on at all, the gunner in his on the starboard side of his helicopter starts firing wildly at their height, not at anything on the ground, but at an area that he was shooting at, and basically causing other helicopters in their little flotilla to have to react. And my father goes on back to the gunner, basically demanding, "What the hell, dude? What are you shooting at?" And the kid is just sweating profusely, and his eyes are just dilated beyond belief. And my dad thought he was dealing with another heroin addict, but this was before it had gotten really bad in Vietnam, and the kid was not exhibiting those kind of symptoms. He was reacting to what he had seen. And he's describing to my father that he was shooting at these basically flying demons that were flying alongside the helicopter. And he knew they were coming to get him because they were gesturing at him and they could see him. And so he reacted and he started shooting his Bren gun, big 50 caliber slugs at these things, right? And they were flying along right next to the helicopter, so he's firing out directly from the helicopter, and there are other helicopters in the vicinity, so it caused all kinds of problems. And this goes on repeatedly, week after week after week. Every time they try and use these night vision goggles, at some point they encounter monsters, true monsters. Now, officers had been told not to wear these. Okay, the pilots were told not to wear them. But my dad put them on to see what the hell was going on, and to hear him describe it, it was like being in the worst kind of a demonic gothic hell. That you'd look out at the tops of trees and you'd see these creatures with big wings and claws and everything come flying off of the tops of the trees. But you take the goggles off and there's not even a disturbance in the fog above the canopy of the trees, right?
They're perceiving into an aspect of consciousness.
So I hope you paid attention. This information is deep, and I had that on my first two channels, and I thought it was good to bring this up again because I don't see people repeating it, speaking of it, and applying it. Now, the truther world is corrupted. Whatever is in the ether is corrupted. They knew about your awakening, and the white man is a hybrid, but he's not the hidden Edomite, the copper-colored shapeshifter, or Esau satyr, the strong say so as well. So please do your research, pay attention, let the Most High be your only teacher, please. And you can check Paul Davis, his channel, he's for real. You should check Edgar Mendes, he's for real. If you want some good videos, awesome videos about them teachers, is the Sword of David, quite a few, and so far that would be it. You can check Matt Burwell on how he slices the complete matrix in terms of geometry. Now, I hope these informations will be useful to you. All praise and glory to the Most High forever, ever.